This is the Farm Hop Life Men's Forum. I don't know. Farm Hop Life Men's Forum. I'm all flustered. I'm Matt DeRocher for Farm Hop Life, and tonight we have
Christopher Dividal, and I'm less flustered.
slightly. What is your thing? What is it that you do, Christopher?
I'm working on Secure Coop, Secure Farm. All
Nice.
sorts of automation for the backyard gardener, farmer guy wants to take a break every now and then.
Oh, hey, look at that. We got Long Story Farms.
All right.
Hey man, how's it going?
Welcome, Long Story.
Thank you.
Holy smokes, there is some noise. There is some noise there. Wait, who's got the noise?
I've got my earphones on, so it's probably not me.
All right, it's less so now. Okay, cool.
Keep my hat straight.
So the topic tonight is do hard things. But before we start, let's share some personal events. Chris, why don't you start? Christopher, sorry. I'm just going to keep calling you Chris because the podcast I did before this had a Chris.
Okay.
And so I'm going to keep working on it.
Well, again, I'm not offended. Just, it's like personal preference. Yeah. My personal noun is Christopher.
Personal noun. Nice.
And so just there's a long story. Hey, just wrapping up, setting up my database servers and my web servers, and now moving forward on redundant app servers. Again, so that the idea is that my servers can fail, but customers never lose contact. They're always online with the service. It's always monitored, always working. So
nice, dude.
Yeah.
Keep plugging away.
That's right. I'm wrapping that up now. I got the database had some problems with encryption and replication, but it's all working now. So, yeah, I'm really happy about that.
Sweet.
Yep.
Long story. Do you want to share? You haven't been on in a while. Do you want to share who you are and where you're at for people that don't know who you are?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'm on a cell phone hotspot for broadband, so I'm going to turn off the video when I'm talking so you can hear me. Is this okay?
Sure. Yep, you sound good.
All right, cool. Yeah, so Long Story Farms, we're a small little family farm in central South Carolina doing pork and poultry mostly. And been a dream of mine to do this for a long time, and just trying to heal the land and sustainably raise good animal source foods for the local community here. And hopefully one day I can quit my corporate job and do that full time. But for now, got to do them both. So
yeah, that's the dream.
Yep.
Dude, how cold is it where you're at? I've never seen you in a sweatshirt.
No, it's just that there were some showers earlier, and there's a really big fan above me. So everything kind of cooled off all of a sudden. So I went and grabbed a sweatshirt just because
sure
I'm under a fan, But we're good. It's like it's in the 90s here during the day, but right now it just showers in the evening, just cooled it down to about 70. So it's that's all.
Nice.
Do you want to share like a personal event, like let's say farmers market this weekend, or like a project you're working on or finished or something?
Yeah, well, just a few little things, I guess. We've been going to a farmers market. We started a farmers market with my sister and one of her friends in a neighboring town. It's a destination farmers market, so it's not like in a downtown setting like the one we do in our little town. And we're really excited. There's going to be classes. There's going to be contests, and we hope to roll it up into like a weekend, homesteading seminar type thing at some point, really focused on building community. We did the second one this past weekend, very successful for us in terms of marketing our products and making good connections in the community. So really excited about that. It's at the old barn on old Lexington Highway in Chapin, South Carolina, if anyone's in the area.
That sounds like a pretty cool community thing. Like it's more than just a farmers market. Like it has other things. And instead of just like lately, it seems like farmers markets have also they're like half like producers and half food trucks. I don't know how it is where you guys are at, but that's how it is where I'm at.
No, this has been, like I said, it's only the second one, and it is a destination. So people have to go specifically to this venue, which is like
Sure.
a big a covered pavilion, like for weddings and stuff like that. And they have to show up there for the market. And so what's happening is like when we do our downtown market in our little town, there's a lot of traffic, but the per transaction value is fairly low, and there's a lot of people that just pass by or say hi or whatever. What I'm noticing at this other market is that it's buyers. People are coming there because they want to buy from local producers. So it's a very different vibe. And we'll see how it goes in terms of growth and in terms of getting some of the other aspects. Our thoughts are having the classes, like doing like a class on seed saving or doing a class on candle making or whatever, those types of things. And then, like I said, maybe roll it up into like a seminar type situation one weekend where we do like a small animal livestock swap or something like that, and have more, try to get really some of the like-minded folks in a 30 or 40 mile radius together for some learning together and making those connections so we can trade with each other and we can support each other and be more resilient as a community.
There's nothing like that now?
There are some events, but they're generally held in like up in the Greenville area or in the Columbia area. So they're like centered around the city, and we're trying to get people from this area, from within, like I said, 15 or 20 or 30 miles, to kind of, to just meet those people and get them together in one spot.
That'd be sweet. Do you have?
Yeah.
Are you trying to lead the charge on that, or?
I'm I might be the quick reaction force, backing them up. But I mean, I'm a vendor, but I'm also one of the people that kind of has been, saying, hey, here's what I think you should do to get the market going, and trying to recruit other vendors and stuff like that. I mean, I'm recruiting people that sell the same products I sell. I mean, because I want to build this as I'll say even a movement. But I think the more vendors we have, even if we're selling the same things, the more customers we'll all get. And like if one day I'm sold out of one thing, I can say, hey, Matt from Persimmon Hill has some great stuff. Go grab it from him. Or maybe Matt's not there one day, and I can go, yeah, I've got hot Italian. I don't have sweet Italian, but here, let me hook you up with some brats or whatever. That's been kind of the way it's been going. And I'm meeting other guys that are doing this, that are doing it, they're a little further along than I am in the journey, so I can learn from them. And
Sweet.
we're putting together a lot of. I think it's really synergistic right now. I'm excited. We'll see.
Even just the building of the thing would create some community, so you can't fail.
Yep.
Yeah.
Can I tell you guys one more
Yeah.
thing? I mentioned
Yeah,
this on Twitter, but I'm going to do a farm to table event, man. I'm really stoked about that.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Now, what's that?
We're gonna a family member is a partner in a restaurant, and her husband has a law firm, and we're going to do a farm to table event for the law firm staff.
Ooh.
And so we're going to take our farm products. I used to cook professionally, so I'm going to prepare a 3-course meal for the law firm at the restaurant, and I'm really excited about that. It's another thing that's coming up at the end of the month.
I gotta look this up. Did you just post that today?
I think I posted it late last night.
Okay.
I even put a short menu on Twitter as a response to Barnabas. He was asking about it.
I'll have to look this up a little bit later. That's super cool. Okay, just lined up a farm to table event for a law firm. That's awesome. Nice. I didn't see that earlier.
I'd like to see more of that.
I don't expect to see you. I don't expect you to see every tweet I make, Matt. That's okay, man.
Well, I don't know. I need to retrain my algorithm or something like that, so like I can see all the good stuff instead of just all the infighting in our little Twitter corner. Yeah. So this weekend, finally brought my daughter home from the NICU after almost 7 weeks.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks. That was intense. Super emotional. I think I did all the crying. My wife, I don't think did any of the crying, but that's okay. Um, so we introduced Lila, the newborn, to my 2-year-old Milo, and he's like curious but hesitant. So he goes up to her, just kind of like cautiously, looks at her for like a second, maybe two, like she needs a nook, and like just ran off to go find a nook for it, and like that, I lost it. I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so sweet. Yeah, he's been so awesome already with her. He still likes to get rowdy around her, not with her, but around her, and like so that we're kind of learning, like teaching him that, like, hey, look, like I know you just tried to get on the couch, but you also kicked her in the leg or whatever. So like, be mindful, and so that'll take some time, but yeah, we're all home.
Is Lila going to make an appearance tonight?
No,
Okay.
she's asleep.
Yeah.
Maybe
Feel
one of
bad.
these days I will just do it off my phone on the couch,
Yeah.
with a baby on my chest. That would be something.
Yeah.
Super crappy audio quality. And then not hospital related or baby related. I got a text this morning as I'm like feeding the chickens, ready to go to work. Hey, can we do your fence post today? Because I had inquired. I was like, hey, I want these fence posts like pounded. I'll do the rails or whatever, and I'm not digging them, because I tried that with like my chicken run, and it took me like all day to do 6 posts.
Mm.
So you just hit rock
Brutal.
after rock after rock and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And so they knocked it out this afternoon, and I'm like super stoked. I posted it on a couple of different like social media accounts, and like it's gonna look awesome.
Good.
Pretty pumped.
Yeah, that we have a lot of clay here, man. I have an auger on my tractor, and the tamping down those posts, oh, that's just excruciating. Takes forever.
Yeah, sometimes even like a post pounder won't get through some like hard pan stuff of clay. But thankfully I didn't have that issue. Some of them, they were pounding them in and they just like stopped. And so they just had to like cut off the top and kind of shape it a little bit to get it to blend in. But
I'm looking
But
at
yeah.
the picture now.
yeah, it looks sweet. I'm excited. Going to be some big exterior changes around me. So, well, let's get into the main topic. Do hard things. So this came up from my interview last week, with his handle is Tornado Nate on Twitter, and I don't even remember what we were talking about. I was taking notes of like little things he was saying during our chat, and one of them was just like do hard things. I'm like, I like that. We're talking about that, and I invited him and like obviously a bunch of other people, and so maybe he said he could maybe make it. But anyways, I was like, well, that could mean like 100 different things, right? Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind when you think of like do like hard things is like physical, like I've gone rock climbing. I'm not like terribly good at it. I've gone a couple times. I like hiking and like mountain climbing and stuff like that. So like that would be like something like physical. What's some physical stuff, like physically hard things that you guys like to do or have done?
How about putting 6 posts in the ground for a chicken run?
That was hard and stupid.
Yeah, there's hard and then there's hard and stupid. That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like backpacking. I like, a 3 or 4 day trip, where you're carrying your stuff, and I like that's one of the things I
Same.
really have enjoyed quite a lot.
When was the last time you did that?
Last time was when we were in Chile, so it's been a few years. We got back about 5 years ago, so haven't done a big trip in a while. We've done a few little camping trips, but nothing like that.
You're overdue.
So, yep. But I took my kids. I want to be on here for this topic because I just love it. it's one of the things like, my kids did a 4-day backpacking trip in Patagonia. And, to watch them do, about 10 miles a day for 4 days, that's pretty cool. Youngest was 11 at the time.
Whoa.
And he carried his gear. I mean, I was carrying the food and half the tent. My older son carried the other half of the tent. But basically, my daughter, and two of my two older boys, we did it, the W at Torres del Paine National Park in Chile. It's awesome. And it's a great feeling of accomplishment. And, I think my daughter was like, I don't want to do this again. But, there's still this feeling of like, I did this,
That's cool.
That's cool. That's
Yeah.
great.
I'm looking up the W in Chile. Holy crap. Are you serious?
Yep.
This looks wild, man. Hiking the W track. Wow. Crazy imagery.
Yeah, some cool wildlife that you've never seen. I got back from the trip, and a friend of mine goes, "Hey, did you see any pumas down there?" And I was like, "No, I didn't." He goes, "Oh, they saw you."
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's kind of like mountain
Good
lions
stuff.
around here. So my parents came to town over the weekend, and we went huckleberry picking. And I was telling them, they were like, we brought bear spray. I brought my pistol, and my dad was like, "Do you really have to worry about mountain lions around here?" I'm like, "Yeah, they could be in the trees right now, and they'll see you 99 times before you see them once."
Wow.
Same thing.
Yep. Yeah.
Nuts.
Chris, what do you do that's difficult physically?
Well, I'm the chronic fatigue guy, so everything is difficult physically. But
Sure.
when I get out into the garden, those experiences they're very wholesome. It's like you're getting something done, you're feeding the family, you're really appreciating the nature, and you're just doing something instead of just wasting sitting on the couch. I like to say that no matter how slow you're going, you're lapping everybody on the couch. So I get out there, do a little bit at a time, sometimes a little bit, sometimes 2, 3, 4 hours. And so it just depends on how I feel that day and how my time is available. So, like this week I was able to get, we have two RVs. One of them, the end of it is covered with a fabric shed, a canvas shed. I wanted a second tarp on top of that protection. Me and the boy got that up there, and that was cool. That was good to have that up there this week. Got the far shed all organized, and so we're just slowly and steadily moving in and setting up our tiny little homestead. But for those of you out there who are watching this and get discouraged by guys like on my left and my right, they're lapping me, but just put one foot in front of the other. Just do it, just get up, just do 5 minutes. You don't have to commit to 4 hours. You just say, I'm just going to do 5 minutes. And then that often turns into 5 minutes goes into 20 and goes into 40. And then pretty soon you're out to 2 hours. So it happens.
Yeah, I saw a story about a guy that set a goal to show up at the gym.
Yeah.
And he made himself just go for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And so, he got this habit of going, and that's really what it takes. My big thing with my kids is I want them to be free of fear of failure and to be willing to try. Because I get a lot of people that go, man, you do so many different things, and I'm like, I screw up so much stuff. Like, you have no idea how many things I break. The other day, I decided I was going to fix the power steering. The power steering on my truck was leaking. The fluid was leaking. I assumed it was a hose, but I didn't really know how to diagnose it. And I didn't really have a good place where I could let fluid spray everywhere. So I just kind of said, well, it's probably the hoses. It's a 240,000 mile truck. I'm just going to replace the hoses, all of them. Right. Well, that was a pain in the butt. I got it done. It was the power steering pump though that was leaking.
Ah,
So there's a fail, but it's also like, you know, I still felt great about it. It's like a victory. Like I got all this stuff taken apart, put back together. Man, I couldn't figure out how to get the wrench in there at the very beginning, and by the end, I could take that thing apart and put it back together in about 40 minutes.
yep.
Dang.
And
Now you got new hoses.
you know, got new hoses, got a new power steering pump. I took it to the mechanics and let them do that. But yeah, you know, it's like, you know, it's a mistake, but it's also an accomplishment. And I think that's the thing. Like, you just have to look at those things and say, hey, I'm going to give it a shot. Now, obviously, there's some economic limits on what you can really risk, but that was a small risk, relatively speaking. It was, like I
Sure.
said, it's got new hoses now, so that doesn't hurt anything. But I like challenging myself to do that. I'm not, I jokingly, you know, I'm a parts changer. I'm not a mechanic. I don't know how to do the diagnostics. So I just,
Right.
you know, I can spend a lot of money trial and error trying to figure out what's broken and not have any idea. Getting a little bit better at that, but still, you know, pretty weak on that. But anyway,
You reminded me of a tweet I had earlier. Oh my gosh, we're pretty amazing what you can do when you drop the mindset. I don't know how to do that. Quit making excuses. Learn.
mm-hmm. Yep. We talked about before, like how you can learn. We talked about YouTube the other night on that other
Yeah.
that Spaces thing, but you can learn almost whatever you want on YouTube. You know,
Yeah, you sure can.
Yep.
YouTube is everyone's grandpa that knows how to do everything.
Right. Yeah. Right and
Yeah.
wrong. And half right.
Yeah.
What about mentally hard things? What's something that's mentally hard?
I think it depends on what you're good at. You know, like, you know, I mean, you're an electrician, right, Matt?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So like I had I wanted to power the farm with solar, so I ordered the equipment and started putting it together. And I joked that I didn't know what a volt was when I started. But now, you know, I made a lot of the mistakes, like I said earlier. I mean, I just did it, and I made a bunch of mistakes. I didn't burn up anything. I didn't kill myself. I didn't shock myself. Nothing. I never was
You
dangerous.
didn't even shock yourself? Lies.
I never shocked myself, man. I really didn't. But now I feel really comfortable. Like I feel really comfortable sizing the system. I feel really comfortable, all that stuff, and I just have no fear now because we've had it running now. We made a lot of mistakes. We undersized the PV array for the voltage of our system. That was the first big mistake we made. The second big mistake we made was cycling our lead acid batteries too deeply. Those are expensive.
Yep.
That's an expensive mistake. That's a couple $1,000 mistake, right? But we learned, and we're in a position now where we're running all our freezers on solar, and we're running our well pump and irrigation pump on solar. And it's awesome. It's independence,
Nice.
it's resiliency. So
Yeah, and that
was hard for me.
And that's our next project. So I'm looking forward to hard. I've done electrical engineering kind of stuff, but more on the micro level. This solar is this wiring and stuff is new. But I think I got grasp enough of the concepts to, yes, not get shocked and get the system rolling. And when I'm all done with it, we've decided to talk with my wife, and we're going to set up a sleeping porch underneath the solar panels, so that if we should have because it's hybrid solar, it's half on grid, half off grid. And should we have a power outage at night, the solar won't power the lights and things. And that was a trade-off, a choice we made. But so you don't want to sleep in a stuffy RV at night. So I said we ought to have a sleeping porch where we as a family can all, when the power's up and fine and dandy, we can go sit out there in the shade and catch the breeze. That'd be nice. But at night, if the power is out, that's a great place to be sleeping. With screen all around and hammocks. Everybody's got hammocks, and so the idea is to build a little porch and have the solar panels act as part of the roof with some plastic tarp underneath or something. So So that's the aim, is to build a sleeping porch with solar panels. With the I've got to install a heat pump, air conditioner, and also two 12-volt solar systems. So 120 volt system, or no, 220 volt system with some down converters. So it's going to be a big job, and I'll just have to, one bite at a time. To go out and work for 5 minutes. I'm going to tell myself I'm going to go out there and I'm going to only work for 5 minutes. And if I feel like working longer, I'll keep on working.
Yep.
Sure.
Show up, man. Show up. I tell my kids that. Show up. 90% of the deal is just showing up.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy tell me, one time he goes, it was a job, it was a recruiter, headhunter guy, and he's like, you're smart and you're a hard worker. You're automatically top 2%. And, I think I couple that with showing up. If you show up, you're a hard worker and your head's in the game, you're going to be like successful beyond your imagination, in my opinion. At least it used to work that way. Maybe not anymore. I don't know.
Oh, it's even more so now with the bars getting lower every year. More and more people just don't show up. Don't even. There was a meme that went around that said, "Now hiring people who just show up." It's getting so bad that the bar is lower. So that and that's good for guys like me who are just dragging my feet. So
yeah.
Just high enough above the bar to not get fired.
I want to go more than that.
Nah.
Yeah. The hard thing, I'm sorry to riff on your hard thing, but I think, the hard thing might be interacting socially, right? It might be social. I know you probably had that in your list, in your notes, but one of the challenges I had starting a farm was I was embarrassed to ask people for money.
Mm.
And so I was like, I'm working my butt off building fences and learning how to manage the livestock and all this stuff. And then I go to the butcher and I get the bill for the butcher. And I'm like, underselling everything. And I had a friend of mine, I was like, oh, I'll give you a discount, Peggy. And she goes, Jeffrey, you have to charge your friends. Your enemies aren't going to buy from you. Right. And it just never clicked until that moment. And then I'm like, wait a minute, why am I not asking? I'm giving people a great product. Why am I embarrassed to ask for their money? That was a big, hard thing for me.
Sure.
It
feels weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It sure does.
I was just going to share, touch on the mental quick before moving on to another one. Not to beat a dead horse or whatever, but spending 7 weeks in the NICU, it's hard mentally.
Yeah.
Being away from my wife pretty much for 7 weeks. Everyone kept telling us ships passing in the night. And yep, that's pretty much how it felt. Because during the week we'd go up and I'd almost every time I would bring Mila with me. And so because he's not allowed in the NICU, she would hang out with him because she doesn't get to see him during the week. And then I would go to the NICU with Lila. And so it's we still never got the time together, even though we're, almost in the same room. It's just, last week it was an evening that I didn't bring Mila with me. And I was holding Lila and I was sitting on the couch. Katie was sitting next to me, and I'm just like, our house doesn't feel like a home. You make this house feel like a home, and you're not there. It's just the place I am right now. And it's mentally hard when you're living in a place that just doesn't feel like home. So,
yeah. and that's that ties into mentally. One of the biggest things that I ever had to deal with is for the first 20 years or so of marriage was just a real challenge, just constant. Uh, we weren't meshing, and
How long have you been married, Christopher?
now let's see, 1999, so 22,
23.
almost 23 years, yeah. So at the first 10, 15 were just really tough. We went to a lot of marriage counselors and nothing clicked. And pardon me a second. No.
Jeffrey, how long have you been married
Sun
to your
coming
wife?
in here.
Yeah, 26 and a half years at this point. Yeah.
Dang, I'm the young one here. We just hit 5 this year.
Yep.
But yeah, like it's a lot of work to it really helps to communicate like everything. I don't know how you guys like kind of found your stride, but we just have to be like willing to communicate even the hard stuff. Instead of like, oh, they're not really gonna like this, so I'm just gonna like keep it from them. That doesn't work. That never works. Like you gotta sometimes give bad news.
I always tell people, like, I think one of the hardest things to do when you get married is to learn to fight. And what I mean by that is you're going to have big disagreements, and you've got to be able to have the disagreement and keep that disagreement as close to the scope of the original disagreement as possible, and then be like, I love you, whatever, and I mean, I don't want to be vulgar or anything, but kind of like you have to learn to love make-up sex or whatever you want to call it. You've got to be able to fight, and then be like, okay, we had the fight. That's great. Now, let's love each other even more.
Yeah, and to bounce off of that, you're keeping it to the scope of the problem, not to a criticism of the person.
Yep.
You're trying to isolate, not this has happened, not you are so blah. This has happened. How can we resolve this as a work together as a couple? I wouldn't say we've arrived, but this is like the best year we've had in 23 years.
That's
nice,
awesome,
dude.
Congratulations.
Yeah, that is awesome. I bet that feels great.
Well, it feels better.
Feels better.
we're not where I want to be, but we are definitely. I'm just praising God for massive improvement and seeing more eye to eye and working together and listening.
Dude, it's those baby steps.
Yeah.
The thing. So there's something that in my experience there's things that people will say like like they'll go, man, college is the best 4 years of my life or whatever, or my senior year of college, my best year of my life, something like that. And then they get married and they have kids, and they think if you keep saying that, you're doing it wrong. Like you're really making big mistakes if you keep looking back to stuff like that as the best year of your life. Because if you're not like in the moment enjoying your kids, I mean, I know this NICU thing was probably hard as can be, but man, I mean, that's a galvanizing moment for you and your wife, man,
Yeah.
And
I told her
kind of
last
thing,
year, like we were kind of in a rough spot last year. And like, I told her, I'm like, I'm glad that we worked on ourselves, like as like a couple last year. Because this was so difficult but I wasn't even worried about like us. Like I knew like we were fine. Because we had done the work the year prior. Like I couldn't imagine going through this and try to like improve our relationship at the same time. That would be like, are you kidding? That's a recipe for a disaster.
That'd be brutal.
Yeah.
But one of the things I think I've learned in the last 4 years, I guess I'll say, in our marriage, well, one thing is, if you're in a marriage for 20 plus years, you've been in 3 or 4 or 5 relationships with the same person over that span of time. That relationship has changed so much that, I can look at like the first 5 years of our marriage. That's one relationship. Then there's the next, 6 or 8 years. That's another relationship. Like there's our relationship has changed so much. They're like different relationships. And we had another big change like that about 4 years ago. And, you don't notice it when it happens, right? You don't realize that's what's happening. But that shift that took place, like I started realizing there's so many things that you think you have to agree with your spouse about that really don't matter if you're talking about the hard stuff, like you were saying, Matt.
Yeah.
Like if you're able to have those conversations, whether you agree on politics or not, whether you agree on religion or not, whatever, you can have those big disagreements as long as you're centered on, like you were saying a minute ago, Christopher, like the aspect that you're talking about, not the person. Like it's not demeaning the person. You're not demean like if you're a Biden supporter and your spouse is a Trump supporter, and you're sitting there, you have to be a bad
God
person
help
to vote.
you.
Vote well. If you think that makes the other person a bad person, well then you don't have a relationship. But if you say, I love you, and I honor your choices. I don't agree with them, but I honor your choices. That's where you got to be, because your relationship's going to change. There's going to be thousands of things you disagree on. As much as you might think you're aligned when you first get married, you think, oh yeah, we're gonna raise our kids a certain way, whatever it is, and then you get into it, and you probably only thought you believed the same things, even if you were the same religion, the same politics, all that stuff. When you really start breaking that stuff down, there's 1,000 different ways that stuff splinters. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, and for me, it was so important to that wedding ring symbolizes a ring. It's a circle. It symbolizes unending. It symbolizes I'm not going to stop, even if I don't really like you right now. I'm just going to keep on, keeping on, keeping on, keeping on, pushing and pushing and persevering, and never say quit. Never say quit. So that was a hard thing. A lot of nights with tears, but also never lost hope.
It is kind of crazy, the idea of, and this has nothing to do with hard work, but I guess it kind of does. Like, okay, I'm gonna tie it in. You know how much hard work it is to get along with like one person for a majority of your life? That's hard work. Like, the right person makes it easier, but it's still hard work.
I think this is definitely a hard thing. I mean, look at the statistics. It's a hard thing, or everyone would do it. It's much easier to say, I'm not going to do the work on me or my relationship. I'll just go find someone else who won't make me, stretch so much or work so hard. And I think it's a fallacy in bargain, because most of the people, if they don't do the work, they're gonna break the future relationships too.
Yeah.
But
expanding on relationships, one of the things I thought about for tonight was saying, and it doesn't necessarily need to be in marriage, it can be in any relationship, saying you're sorry, or like humbling yourself, even though like you may not be in the wrong. You're just like, okay, I can see where this is going. This is not going to do either one of us any good. I'm just going to apologize, because I'm sure I am somewhat in the wrong. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. And I'm just like, I had to do that recently with somebody. I'm like, you know what? What did I say? I'm like, I'm sorry that I was a dick and kind of a bitch. And I apologize. And like the entire like conversation just like switched and flipped, and all of a sudden became progressive. So
yeah, I heard it said that if you own 2% of the problem of the relationship, and the other person owns 98%, you are 100% responsible for your 2%. And so you come to that table with that little bit. But there are cases, and I was just talking with my kids the other night about this, where we don't want to conflate, for years I did this. I conflated asking forgiveness and saying I'm sorry. They usually go to hand, but they don't always. Sometimes you are sorry for something that happened for which you have no fault. And then sometimes sometimes someone believes you are wrong and you know you didn't do wrong, and so you ask forgiveness. And then sometimes you really just screw up and you're both sorry and you ask forgiveness. But the idea of separating that out was so helpful for me, that there are two different concepts. I'm sorry, I feel sorrow for this thing that happened. And forgiveness is, I know you feel like I owe you something. I owe you a debt. I am asking you please to forgive that debt. So,
I think, I don't know if I'm saying the right thing here, but I think one of the things I learned over these last several years is to be able to say, I know this disappoints you. I know this probably causes you some hurt or whatever. I don't own the feelings of my spouse. They own them. There are times when I can acknowledge that things I'm doing may not be comfortable for them, but they may be so authentically what I need to do for me that is what it is. And we have to be able to sit with that as a couple. And I'll just give you guys an example. I mean, me doing the farming thing, that's not exactly down my wife's alley. She's not, she's one of those, what was that in the Madagascar movie, Mother Nature's All Over Me? She's really afraid of mice and stuff. That freaks her out. And, it's not comfortable a lot of times. And I have to acknowledge that and just have some gratitude for whatever it is that she can contribute in that regard. And she's been a really great partner. She's, especially with like the markets and stuff. That there's ways that she contributes that aren't some other ways that she could contribute, and because of that discomfort she has. And I have to acknowledge that. And even though I'm not sorry, I don't regret that we're doing this. I understand that it causes her some anguish or some anxiety, and I try to mitigate that when I can. If that makes sense. What I'm saying is sometimes we don't do the wrong thing, and it still causes our partner discomfort.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Sure. Yep. Like, I will never be able to get Katie to process a chicken. Like,
Right.
She did it, and she's like, I don't need to do that again. I said, okay, that's fine.
Nice.
Yep.
Did you have something else, Jeffrey?
No, I was looking through
Okay.
I was just looking through the notes, because you had relationships, spiritual, emotional, mental, physical, and I don't know where we are in the list now.
We've been jumping around. I've been segueing as I see fit.
Right.
So we're all you both are pretty spiritual people, I would say. It doesn't matter what denomination we all are. Has no effect. What can you remember a time where Christopher, you're a born again Christian,
Yep.
and I'm curious if you have anything to add here, Jeffrey. What was a spiritually difficult time for you guys?
Okay. One comes to mind is I wanted to go on an evangelism boot camp, and I am somewhat extroverted, but also somewhat introvert. It's called ambivert. We're like, hey, we'll see you at the party later on tonight after I spend 3 hours alone reading a book. So, we got a little bit of each going on. And I was down there in this evangelism boot camp, and reaching out and talking to people was just not my thing. But I wanted to get better at it, and talking to people and reaching them where they're at. And you got to open your mouth, and you got to hear people's stories and get with them. Well, I get to this place where we were supposed to start walking around and talking to people, and um, in my heart, in my spirit, I knew that I was going to be speaking at a nightclub across the street down in Ybor City, Tampa, and this nightclub was very popular. It had a large crowd in front, and I knew that I would have a word to say to these people. I just knew I had to do it, and it was like terrifying, utterly terrifying. I couldn't resist. I couldn't deny and walk away from that. And it was eating me up. So I walked up and down that street. We were there all night, and we were there for a long time until early in the morning. And I walked, I think, 3 hours or 4 hours, knowing that I've got to do this. And I just the Lord put it on my heart what to say. And so I said, well, I'm just praying for strength. And I finally get the gumption and strength comes upon me. And I say, guys, I need to get to step stool. I need to talk to these people over here. So I take the step stool. I plant it directly in the middle of the crowd, right on the sidewalk. This is public property, so it's fully legal. There's a cop over my left. And the word on my heart was, I stand up on this step stool and I say, attention, everyone, I have a confession to make. I am a murderer. And there's one guy in the crowd is looking over at the cop like, this guy's just making confession that he's a murderer. And I said, let me explain. Jesus said in Matthew 5 that if you hate someone, you're basically guilty of murder. And I just want to confess that to you and say, we stand guilty before God, but He made His way. He made the way of His Son for forgiveness. And I didn't say much more than that. I just appealed to the people to spend their night before they went
without
to bed.
hate.
Yeah, be thinking about that, not just hate, but the fact that I have done that. I don't care who you are. We've called someone a fool, and that's why Christ died. So that was a very hard thing for me to do. It was a hard thing, but it was the kind of thing that I knew that I couldn't do, but it was Spirit empowered. So in that moment, I was really just leaning on the power of the Holy Spirit to give me those words to say to that crowd. And I know from the conversations that some of the other team members had that there was fruit that came out of that. So, you do these things, these hard things. Sometimes you never see what comes out of them, but sometimes you do. So.
Dang,
Yeah.
dude, that's kind of crazy.
That was crazy. It was an intense night.
I want to be completely invisible in a crowd. Like, do not look at me. I'm not here.
Yeah, right in front of the nightclub. It was crazy.
You're wild.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the only thing I would add to this topic is, like, I've always felt like it's very hard for me to believe. I tend to overthink everything, and I feel like I need to believe, and I want to believe, but it's a hard thing for me, and so that's just been a constant struggle for me. So I think religion's a very positive influence, and I'm a Christian, and but it's not an easy thing for me. I don't feel like just naturally or whatever compelled, to believe the way some others do. Never felt that type of faith, and so I believe probably differently than a lot of other people, and but I hold on to it and I try to practice. And so my thing, or my deal with religion is, I'm going to show up. I'm going to be there. I'm going to try to help people. I'm going to try to, lift people's burdens, whatever I can do. I'm going to be there for the youth camp or the whatever, I'm just going to be there. And so that's my battle, I guess, from a spiritual point of view. It's just to try to keep that flame going,
That's pretty interesting.
I was going to say, it reminds me of that verse where the guy is saying, I don't remember where it's, I think it's in Mark, where he says, I believe, help my unbelief.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. He's walking up to Jesus. He's talking to Jesus. I
Right.
believe. I believe. So, God appreciates it when we're honest with Him and not hiding stuff.
Well, I always loved the story of Doubting Thomas. I've loved that since I was a kid, because I mean, even when I was a kid, I had this, and this feeling or whatever, and I always appreciated that, because I'm like, blessed art thou, Thomas, for thou hast seen and believed. And I just go, heck yeah, I'm right there with you, Thomas.
You telling me
So,
what
yeah.
now?
Anyway.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, and I understand what you mean, Jeffrey, when you say, like, these people that, like Chris can just like rattle off, all these Bible verses. I've been going to church since birth, and I know like 3 maybe, and there's a Homestead Padre who was on last week. I mean, he has an even more interesting take on, interesting in that it's different.
Oh man, yeah.
He like studies like the Bible in a completely different way than like anyone I've ever heard. Like, he doesn't celebrate Christmas and Easter, if I remember correctly, because those aren't like mentioned in the Bible, or so. I can't remember specifically. I don't want to speak for him either, but it's kind of fascinating.
Didn't he dabble in like witchcraft and stuff before he converted to Christianity or something like
that? What did he do? When I talked to him, when I did his interview, he's like, I think it was on the interview. He goes, I basically, again, I'm not speaking for him, I'm like paraphrasing. He basically like dabbled in every single religion, and
right.
The one he came back to was Christianity. And I was like, dang, that's kind of crazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Matt, by the way, I don't have a good memory. I have a cheat code. It's called Scripture Memory Music.
What does that mean?
It's okay. So you know how it is when you can remember all the songs from high school, and you can remember all the words from those songs, and you heard them like 10 times or 15 times. It's because music, something about music works with memory in such a way. So they actually, people make these CDs, and now it's on YouTube. And they're not very good. It's not the kind of music that you would chase at, like you would.
I mean, it's like listening to Psalms.
Yeah, it will help you memorize, and I found that it's very fruitful when you're having conversation, or you're wanting to pray for somebody, to pray the Bible, to pray to speak the word when it comes up. I liken it to the Holy Spirit has like a piano, and if you've got two notes on your or 5 notes on your piano, if you only memorize like Psalm 23 and John 3:16, he's going to play chopsticks, and it's going to be the most beautiful sounding chopsticks you ever heard. But if you give the Holy Spirit a whole set of keys, you got a lot of tools.
There you go.
Tool belt. So you can, blessed is the man who walks not in the counsel of the wicked, nor stands in the way of sinners, nor sits in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the law of the Lord, and on his law he meditates day and night. It's a tree planted by streams of water, and it yields its fruit in its season. Its leaf does not wither, and all that he does, he prospers. Just makes me so happy just to even think about that. So this is worth looking up. If you put in Scripture Memory Music into YouTube, you'll find some things.
So this is going to be a weird thing, but I was. I know it's in Kings, and I can't remember the chapter. It's 5 or 7 or something like that. But Naaman the Syrian, the great Syrian. Mm-hmm. So, like, one of the things about me is I don't really take a lot of these stories very literally. I think of them more as like a wisdom literature, and I like the way the Jewish people approach the scriptures, where they're kind of like looking for meaning, and interpretation is kind of a thing to be discussed and debated. I really enjoy that aspect of the way they approach, the Hebrew scriptures in particular. But anyway, so the Syrian, he's cured of leprosy and everything, and he wants to pay the prophet, and the prophet's like, look, I'm not going to take anything. He said, well, let me take 2 donkeys' burdens of Israelite soil so that I can worship the Lord. And as someone who is really trying to live as close to the earth as I can, I love that thought of the soil
Mm.
and the need to have Israelite soil to worship the Lord, because in the Old Testament a lot of times there was this kind of local god kind of thing going on where the Syrians
Yeah.
worship their gods or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so he wanted to take Israelite soil so he could go worship the Lord. And so it just made me think about like the importance of place, the importance of the oil, the soil, the dirt,
Mm.
and I thought it was a cool story, and it's a piece of the story that people never talk about. They always talk about being cured of leprosy and how he had to just wash in Jordan 7 times. It was a simple thing, and he didn't want to do it because he's a great man. And why did the prophet ask him? Great thing of him. They always talk about that, but no one ever talks about this 2 donkeys burden of soil, because I don't think it fits the narrative of modern Christianity of this idea that this one God and that context is lost because of we don't think of in terms of those local gods that they might have had at that time. But I think it's a beautiful thing, and it just reminds me, like I said, the importance of the place we're in, like the local place we're in, and the soil. So anyway, sorry to drop that. It's kind of maybe off topic, but it's a cool story.
Yeah.
No, I just searched it so I can read it later.
Yeah, cool.
I'll share mine really quick, since we're coming up on time. And I didn't think I would talk about this tonight, but in my early 20s, I'll give the brief version. I was working in Yellowstone, and I was like, this isn't great. I'm gonna do something crazy before I leave. So I got up like midnight or whatever and drove south into the Tetons, and I slept for about an hour and a half in my car at the foothills of one of the mountains, Tiwanaut, which is 1 or 2 peaks north of Grand Teton, if anyone knows that area. And I just at like 5:30 in the morning got out of my car and just started hiking. Had a rough idea of a path. I mean, I knew I was at the trailhead, but after that, I have no idea. I just started going, and it was late May, so there's still like snow and stuff. And let's see, I was tired of hiking, and I started like kind of like rock climbing to like get up. And I'm not wearing rock climbing shoes. I'm wearing like work boots. And I had heard a noise to my right. I look, and there's like a small avalanche. I'm like, oh, weird. That's not very good. And then I hear a noise above me. I look up, and I see snow coming over the ridge, or like kind of cliff or whatever above me. And I'm like, this might suck. And so all I could do was just lean in really close to the rock, and snow was like hitting my backpack, but it wasn't like enough to like knock me down or whatever. But I like just kept going. Keep climbing. I'm still rock climbing. I kind of get in like a weird spot that I can't like turn around or keep going or whatever, and I end up like falling like 8 feet or something like that on a relatively like flattish spot. Kept going. I am climbing the ridge, like I'm hiking along the ridge to get to the summit. I can see the summit. I'm like 200 yards away, and on this ridge, I'm looking. I look to my left. I could fall down like 1,000 feet straight, like would hit nothing. I could fall down, or if I slipped and fell to the right, I mean, I would slide down the snow all the way to the car, pretty much. And the wind was just howling, and I'm just like, I was just tired and fatigued, and I honestly thought I was going to die up there. And so as I think a lot of people ebb and flow in their relationship with God. And so the only thing I could think of at the time was, Jesus, I trust in you, have mercy on me.
Mm.
And I just like said that over and over and over as I made my way down. I never made it to the summit. I just made my way down. And then that's where, how do I show this off? I can't. How do I show this off on camera? I look stupid now. So that's where these come from.
Wow.
Just trust and mercy. So
Yeah. That's cool. So you got those like the next day.
the next day,
I
probably about a year later.
Yeah.
So that's I mean, there's like a lot more to it, but that's like that's like the gist of it, and just something that I never wanted to forget.
Mm.
And but yeah, that was like I had been away in faith for a little while. Not like it was gone. Like, I'm not religious. It's just like just never made it a priority at the time. Um, so I don't know. It was an interesting spiritual challenge.
Yeah, it was hard. And Romans 1:20 talks about how God's eternal power and divine nature are perceived in the creation. So you got to see a lot of power and divine nature that night.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, that's neat. That's a good story.
Well, that's one
Stupid
thing
things you do
about
when you're
But,
young.
but you mentioned earlier at the beginning, you said physically it's hard to hike. It's hard to like if I don't know if you fast as part of your either your health regimen or your religious practice, but fasting is hard, hiking and stuff like that is hard, and a lot of times in those extremities, those physical extremities, we do feel a glimpse of creation or divinity, and I think those are special moments.
Yeah, for sure. Just to wrap that up, I attempted to climb that same peak a couple years later, and we got rained out. And then a couple years after that, with a buddy, we summited the Grand Teton. So I think Tiwanaut is just going to be on my list of cannot make it. It's just going to be like the for me, the unascendable mountain.
Okay.
It's like the holy of holies or something. It's
Yeah.
forbidden spot for you or something.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool hike though, and but yeah. Anyways,
I had talked about doing Grand Teton with my son. I even started collecting some of the gear we would need, but it just never worked out. So,
dude, it's a lot of fun. One of the we'll talk after briefly. But hey, what do you guys want to wrap up on?
It is a tough life that we live, and it's a lot harder if you're not walking with Christ, who helps us, sustains us, and gives us hope and help. That's the bedrock of my life. That's been the strong tower that you run into and you're safe. The righteous arm that holds me up. I need my Christ to be with me.
Well said.
Yeah, well, I'll take a different attack, I guess. I think that most of us are living well below our potential, and the only way we can explore the boundaries is by doing hard things. So, go do hard things, and like you said, trust, mercy. Count on trust in your higher power, whatever that is, and expect miracles or mercy or something to get you through the parts you're not capable of getting through by yourself. Even if it's just in the guise of a friend that lends a helping hand, whatever that is. Do the hard stuff. It's good.
Right.
Do the hard stuff. It's good. I think in the initial email I sent out for this, I said, a life of ease is no life at all. And I honestly believe that. You can rest when you're dead.
Yep. I say that a lot. I say that a lot. We can sleep when we're dead. I tell my kids that all the time. Yep.
No rest for the wicked. Let's do our pluggables. Chris, go ahead.
SecureCoop.com and use the coupon Farm Hop Life Rocks right there. And I'm setting up. Got my infrastructure going. Got my German developer talked to me again today, and we're rolling. I'm thinking it's going to be by the end of the year. I can't make any promises, but it's looking good. So
nice. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Okay, yeah. So Long Story Farms, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, and we'll be at the Memorial Park Grow Newberry Farmers Market and Art this coming Saturday, and we'll be at the Old Barn on Old Lexington Highway in Chapin the 20th, and look for a report back on our Farmer Table event the 27th. That's that's what's coming up for us.
Nice, dude. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, do
All right,
more
man.
farm to table. That's the word. That's where the money's at. That's
This
good
is
one.
this is a dry run, and if it's
Yeah.
successful, we'll probably do one a month later where we'll open it to the public and
You,
try to.
you know, on the theme of today, it might be hard, and keep doing it because that's what
Yeah,
that's a good way to go.
yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Sweet.
All right, nice to meet you, Christopher.
Yes, sir. All right, Jeffrey.
And I am Matt DeRocher of A Farm Hop Life. You can check me out, farmhoplife.com, and my 20 by 23 project, going to help out 20 homesteads in the year 2023. You can learn more at farmhoplife.com/20x23. We'll talk to you next week about something. Hang tight, guys. Thanks for listening, everybody, and I appreciate you guys showing up.
Thanks, man.